So, in our last video, we left our freehand house in sort of like this kind of state, where we have an improvised roof and the bottom of the house with the window frames, the door, the window at the back, and all of these other things. So before I go on, I'd like to just do a quick little setting so we can see things more clearly. From over here at the top right corner, I'm going to click the drop down menu here for overlays, and I'm going to turn on wireframe so we can see the wireframe of the geometry that we're working with. So now, firstly, this overhang here is a tad too big, so I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to go into vertex mode, and I'm going to press Alt-Z from the keyboard to make everything transparent. I'm going to select these vertices, I'm going to use the move tool to adjust the overhang to where I want it to be, something like this, maybe. And now what I want to do is go back to object mode and create a bunch of columns that are going to carry this overhang over here. They're gonna be a little bit Greek in terms of their style. So if any of you are architects who are watching, please don't don't get angry with me, because this is I'm sort of freestyling the house to where I can show you more things. It's not architecturally sound, so yeah, let's get on with it. So I'm going to press Shift A, and I'm going to add a cylinder. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to press over here the gizmo across the y-axis, and I'm going to kind of position this, scale it down to kind of like some sort of a thickness that I would be okay with. I'm going to move it to a place where I think it's good. I'm going to kind of eyeball everything. I'm going to align it a bit with the floor, and we're going to talk alignments in later videos. There is a better and more precise way to do this. So I'm maybe going to scale this down a bit more. Again, align it further. Yeah, this should do. And right now what I want to do is have this thing reach to the overhang from the roof. So I'm going to go into edit mode. I can do this also by tapping the tab key. The tab key switches from object mode to edit mode. So I'm going to hit tab, and I'm going to go to edit mode. I'm going to go to face here. I can also press 3 from the keyboard. 1 is for vertex, 2 is for edges, 3 is for faces. And I'm going to pull this up until it just barely clips into the roof, so that we have a somewhat decent height. So what I want to do now is create something on the bottom that feels like it's a decent bottom portion of the column. And I'm going to do that by creating a loop cut over here. I want to have it be like maybe, I don't know, maybe like this tall. And we're going to go to faces, and I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to extrude them. So again, if we use the default extrude, the extrude region, it's going to do something like this, which isn't what we want. So you probably guessed that we're going to be using extrude along normals. And we're going to create this thing here. And we're going to be doing something pretty similar about the column up here on the top portion. So again, using the loop cut, I wanted to actually have a slight taper up top, so I'm going to do something like this over here, and I'm going to go to face, Alt Z, click on it, and I'm going to uniformly scale the face so that it can taper like this. Okay, so now that we have the taper, I want to add a couple of more things here. I want to add a loop cut so that we can have an overhang from this piece. And I'm going to do I'm going to do a loop cut here so we can have an indentation, and you'll see what I mean shortly. Just sort of so we can make it a little bit more interesting. I want to have an overhang over here. Cool. I would like to have an indentation here, so I'm going to do a loop cut. And I want it to be not at the very bottom of the column, so after I've done the loop cut, I'm actually going to bevel it. So I'm going to position it where I want it to be. I'm going to bevel the edge loop. Something like this, maybe. Yeah. And now we're going to sort of start to decorate this a bit better. So how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to go to edges here. I'm going to double click on this edge to select the entire edge loop, and I'm going to bevel this. And I'll bevel it to something like this, maybe. Yeah, this is fine. I also want to extrude this thing. So I'm going to double click to select the entire ring of faces, and I'm going to extrude, pardon me, extrude along normals by doing something like this, for example. Yeah. And we're gonna make it look fancy by going to the edges. I'm going to tap 2, and I'm going to select this edge ring, hold shift and double click to select this edge ring as well. And we're going to bevel these out. Now let's see what we can do here. Add a couple of more segments. See if we can do something interesting by reversing the angle. Yeah, looks cool. Looks cool indeed. And now we want to have the indentation we were talking about over here, but I'm gonna position it slightly up top as with the one back there. So I'm going to bevel this edge loop. Yeah. I'm going to go straight to faces so that I can select the face ring. And I'm going to use extrude along normals, but I'm going to pull these inward so that we can have the indentation that we were talking about. You see? I'm going to do the exact same here. Push this in. Cool. Now we're going to select these ones and we're going to push those out. Now you see that there's a slight slant over here. We can try to fiddle with these settings, but we're not going to do so. What we're going to do is, after having this extrude done, we're going to go to the move tool and we're going to move it up to where pressing on the wall in the way that we want it to be pressing. Something like this. And lastly, we're going to add some bevels over these edges here. So I'm going to go to edge and I'm going to select both of these edge loops. I'm going to bevel this thing out. Yep, something like this. Maybe add a little bit more geometry. Yeah, that should do it. And now once I press tab, we'll be back into object mode and we will have this interesting looking column thingy. Now let's position it to a place where it would make more sense. I want it to be like somewhere over here-ish, so that it doesn't interfere with the window, but it also carries some weight. Now I'm going to press X so we can move to the front, and we're going to move this way out here. Yeah. And what we want to do here is duplicate this a bunch. So I'm going to right click and say duplicate objects. I'm going to press escape so we can get out of the free movement here. And I'm going to move this right in between these two windows. I'm going to eyeball it. Then I'm going to duplicate this as well. Escape to get out of the freeform movement, and we're going to place this one over here. Again, eyeballing the thing. So what we have now are these 3 columns. And now all that's left is to have something underneath, which can give us a ground plane and maybe finish off the roof, which I'm going to select right now. I'm going to press tab to go into edit mode, and I'm going to select the topmost face, this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually extrude it a bit, scale it a bit inwards, press the move tool to move it down a bit, then extrude it again, then scale it in again, move it again back down. Then we're going to repeat this, like, give me a second, like the scaling process. We're going to taper it in a bit. And then again, we extrude further. And this latest extrusion, we're going to scale in big time and push it to the outside. It's a bit of an unusual thing, but hey, it gets the job done. Now, the last thing we want to do here, tab to go to object mode, is create some sort of a ground plane on which this thing can function. So I'm going to press Shift A and I'm going to create a cube. And we're gonna use the scale tool to shrink it a bit. A little bit more. And we're going to position it right underneath the house. Just under there, this. And right now I'm going to go to the top position. I'm going to press Alt and Z, go to edit mode, vertex, and move these out. So now we have a ground plane, and what we would ultimately like to have over here. Let me just push it a bit further. Yeah. Back through, pull these out. What we might want to have to finish this off is kind of like a slight fence to this piece. So I'm going to go to faces. I'm going to select the top face. I'm going to inset it by using the inset command. Something, for example, like this, maybe. Yeah, this should do. And we're going to use the loop tool, loop cut tool, sort of create an opening for the possible doorway across the fence. So I'm going to Now press the scale, and you know what we did. We're going to zero it out by holding the scale on the Y and pressing 0 on the keyboard. Do the exact same thing over here. Holding and dragging and pressing 0. And now what we want to do is get over here to the selection, go to faces, shift double click, and select all of these. Control drag over what we don't want to extrude. We're going to extrude region. Boom, we have this fence. And now what we want to do is bevel it a bit. So we're going to go to edges, select the outmost parameter. Same for this one, here and here. We're gonna bevel this thing out in a way that suits us. Or maybe, I'm just thinking right now, maybe what we would like to do here is not so much bevel the thing, but create an external lid over it. So bear with me. Shift double click. Extrude along normals. And here we go. Going to object mode. And we now have our freestyle house ready and able. This is just using the techniques that we've learned up until now. We're going to go into more advanced techniques and talk more about design so we can actually prepare something better looking than this. But yeah, from this point, you can see that even with the limited amount of tools that you have, you can build something that's workable, serviceable. I'm going to turn off the wireframe now so you can see how the thing looks without the wireframe. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. See you in the next one.